morning, everybody. You are listening to the Procure Smarter podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Cook. This episode and every episode is sponsored by the ProcureSmart Purchasing Agency. If you have new construction, renovation, or conversion happening, we would love to talk to you about how we can help with your FF&E. Okay, guys, I know I say this a lot, but guess who we have? We have the one and only face of hospitality, Mr. Glenn Haussman. I am so excited. Glenn is the biggest advocate, commentator, educator, and consultant in the hospitality industry. He was recently recognized at the 2022 Global Hospitality Awards as the #1 global social media influencer in hospitality. And his show, the No Vacancy Live, was named the #1 podcast in hospitality. We are super excited to talk to him. So stay tuned, everybody. All right, everybody, we are back with the amazing Mr. Glenn Haussman. You know him, you love him. Glenn, I think it's safe to say you are probably the face of hospitality out there.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you.
So I would love to know, let's talk about your journey. How did you get started? Was this your dream? Like, did you want to be the face of hospitality?
I mean, do you really think about those things ahead of time, right? I mean, I was just trying to learn how to funnel beers in college. And then it's like, and then after that, suddenly I feel like 25 years have gone by and now I'm here. Oh, it's actually been closer to 30 years since college. Jeez, what is going on? I know. So I think what really happened is I just kind of, I think it's important to reinvent yourself every 10 or so years, right? And I didn't realize that when I was younger, of course. And the first couple of iterations of me, I think just kind of happened organically. And then I started to recognize a pattern in my life. So it's not that I set out to do it. It's just that when I'm mapping out that next chapter of my life, I'm thinking about where I should be at the end of that period of time. I went from, working behind the scenes, running a music video editorial company that focused on hip hop videos in the 1990s to going into being a writer, writing about carpet tiles and stuff like that. Then other iterations, which finally took me to the invention of podcasts and me saying, hey, I'd love to start doing that sort of thing, and then learning how to do it. And then video became more prominent. And now we're focused on that. So who knows what's going to happen? I think you just kind of take one thing at a time, see where you want to grow and where your opportunities to be. But to be blessed with the opportunity that people listen to me and hear what I have to say and respond and hopefully do better in their careers because of the conversations we have. Oh, that's the best.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like to have, I mean, you really have a lot of influence out there. You get a lot of big names on the podcast.
Yep.
You talk about all of the emerging things that are happening in the industry. You kind of get a first row seat to it.
I do. And the cool thing is it allows me, by hearing this point of view, that point of view, the other point of view, to really make connections in a way that others aren't able to. Not because I'm smarter, just because I'm at the center of that particular universe, right? You get the operations people, the tech people, procurement people like yourself, and everyone is together, but kind of siloed at the same time. I've been able to break down those barriers and get a very unique point of view that hopefully, gets people to start thinking about those other sectors within our great business.
And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about your unique point of view, especially in the coming out of COVID.
Right.
Do you think that COVID will be that defining moment or that pivot point in our industry that 50 years from now, industry leaders are going to be like, oh yeah, but remember COVID?
I don't know. 50 years from now, not so much. Nobody's really talking about all the changes that happened because of the savings and bank loan crisis in the early 1990s, for example. I hate when people put too much emphasis on events like this. Nobody's actively thinking about how everything changed after 9/11, but things didn't really change after 9/11. We saw an acceleration of trends that were already in the marketplace. And the same thing has happened during this COVID period. Nothing has suddenly come out of the ether because of COVID. It just got people focused on things in a different way that'll accelerate trends. So while people may out there say, oh, COVID this, COVID that, the truth of the matter is it has nothing to do with it. We were going to get to that point anyway at some point.
And are we COVID burnout? Are we sick of talking about it?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
emotionally burned out, physically burned out, and really, really tired of dwelling in the past. There's a convention that I'm going to be at, and one of the panels they wanted to do was talking about the past. I'm like, nobody wants to sit here and talk about how depressing all of that has been for the last 2 years. We are filled with opportunity and real different challenges. And I think it's all important to just focus on how we could move forward, create a new horizon instead of always looking back. And I think people also, while we're at it here, and I'm just kind of spitballing, people are too focused on trying to get back to 2019. People always think about we want to get back to what was normal. There is no such thing as normal. There never has been. It's what's happening today, what happened yesterday, and the continuum that we're on that we're going to reach into tomorrow. Everything is always in a constant state of flux. Everything is always changing. Even the continents are always changing. You just can't see it because it moves too slow. But in retrospect, I think we realize that it's more of a flow than a definitive change.
So I would imagine that you hate that term, the new normal.
I can't stand it. Drives me crazy. That only to be rivaled by back in like 2019 when they would say, "And what inning are we in right now? The hospitality cycle."
That's funny. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the positives that have happened in the last few years, COVID related or not COVID related. There
Right.
has been a lot of changes in hospitality.
Yeah, I mean, we're really moving in a great direction right now. And when I say acceleration of the trends, COVID did wake people up to noticing some things and forcing change to happen. We've been dithering about technology for decades now, but I'm starting to see real meaningful change, real meaningful thought on that. It's being driven by the change in the workforce and the economics behind property side labor, but things are changing. Things are moving forward. There's a lot of opportunity to tap into new markets that are out there, to really recognize the importance of that digital nomad that's going to be coming into the fore, I think, in the next 5 years. They're there. We just don't recognize them as that yet. So there's lots of things that we can do. There's lots of challenges, and this is the time for unbridled change. Experimenting, fail quickly, find your success, move on.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things that one of the reasons I started my podcast was
Mhm.
because I watched your podcast.
Oh, fun.
And I thought, well, that's the word. You are having so much fun.
Because it's the best. Shh, don't tell anyone. We don't need any more competition.
I know. And so I would love to hear about No Vacancy and some of your highlights. And I also want to know, like, who would be a dream guest?
Uh, okay. So I think the highlight is really being able to connect with the people that are making hospitality happen every single day. And I don't just mean the guests. I mean the people that are participating in the program. We've got a great audience that asks questions. I get a lot of emails all the time with questions based on things that happened in the show. Those are the people that I think it's the best that I'm doing, the best that I'm doing this show for them. It's great that we have all these incredible professionals on, but it's the audience, it's the learning, it's that excitement that I think really drives my passion here. But we're also blessed with getting to speak to incredible people all throughout the spectrum of hospitality. Your traditional CEOs of hotel companies and management companies. We just had on the CEO of IHG Americas, for example, a couple of weeks ago as we're recording this show. Just yesterday, we had the Chief Innovation Officer with the TSA on our show.
I saw that.
We've had like great industry luminaries like Horst Schulze on the show and Harris Rosen on the show. And I could go on and on with those icons. So it's hard to pick the best guests or something like that we've had, because they've all been so amazing. And what I'd say for the dream guest I have, you know what, if there's certain people that have been trying to get on the show and they're still resistant. If they don't want to come on at this point, well, shame on them. We have a forum of love and light that's meant to educate, empower, and entertain people. And if some of these CEOs of these massive corporations are too scared to come on because they're worried, then there's nothing I can do about it. We're here to give them love, but if they're not going to take that risk, then I'm done I hit 50 last year. I'm done asking. I'm done begging. If people don't want to get on board, they don't want to get on board. Thank goodness, though, so many people have. And thank goodness that we're able to really educate and help people move along in their careers.
Well, and you are doing that. But when you started No Vacancy, did you have any idea it would catch fire the way it has and become the #1 hospitality podcast out there?
No, I mean, I just started it because I got tired of writing. I just wanted to talk. But really, I just wanted to, I just started because I saw it as an emerging technology, podcasting, and it's something that I love to do. So the fact that I was able to actually then take that and turn it into a real viable business still blows me away every single day. I never set out to achieve what we are being told we've achieved, but it's freaking amazing that we have. I won't deny that. It's pretty cool. I have a problem in my life about giving myself pats on the back and acknowledging what I've accomplished. It's weird because I'm a super optimistic person, but when it comes to my career, I'm always what I didn't get done thing, right? So I'm never sitting here and thinking about, that's awesome. We won we're getting all these great awards and accolades right now, but I just focus on, why didn't we get this amount of listens on a show, or why can't I get that guest, even though I told them I don't need them. I do want them, that sort of a thing. So I'm just super, super blessed. Again, thrilled and happy to be in this unique position to be able to share great stories with an awesome audience every day.
So can I ask about your co-host, Anthony?
Sure.
Obviously, he is a firecracker, and I loved watching him on Hotel Impossible.
Yeah.
He is no nonsense. What's it like to work with him, and how did you meet him?
So I met him. The first meeting that we had hardly counts, but I'll run it through anyway. He had just started Hotel Impossible. I was doing my first podcast series then called Hotel Interactive Radio. I actually did 100 episodes of that. It's a lost series now, just kind of like those old episodes of The Honeymooners that nobody knew existed. They're all in a vault, not the Disney vault, but since my departure from there, everything vanished. But I did 100 episodes there. And in Anthony's first season of Hotel Impossible, he was working with a company that we knew through the events that we were doing at that company. And I had the opportunity to do a podcast with him. And it was fun. We kind of hit it off. I just started doing the podcast. I should look back in the database to see when that was. I didn't think twice about it. When I started my company and I started the No Vacancy podcast, within 5 or 6 months of me starting the show, I'm like, I should get that guy Anthony on. He's a big TV star. He'll get me some listens,
Right.
Nothing like leverage celebrity for your own selfish needs. So I reached out to him and I got him to do the show. We had a lot of fun. I felt we had some fun. And then afterwards I said, hey, that was great. I'd love to have you back sometime. And he's like, I got some free time. Why don't we just record one right now? I'm like, sure. Awesome. So we recorded 2 shows. And then like 2 months later, he calls me, goes, hey, I want to start a podcast. Let's do one together. So I met up with him and we started to become friends. And we spent about 4 or 5 months trying to figure it out. Then we created Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, which ran 2 days a week from 2018. Yeah. 2018, I think, or maybe it was 2017, I think. Oh my God, whatever it was. It's really long time ago. We're getting old. Time is going really fast. So it was like, I think 4 and a half, 5 years ago. And we did that up until COVID started. And then when COVID started, of course, I started going on live every single day. And that became the current iteration where Anthony and I are doing No Vacancy live together.
I love it. You guys you have a little bit of Laurel and Hardy going on.
Yeah.
You guys have really good chemistry.
For those out there, that's an old.
That's a very old reference.
They were contract players back in like the 1930s or something.
That's funny.
Like
yeah,
that.
I pulled out a really old one for that one. Okay, so I read on your bio that you are relaunching a new tech podcast.
Yeah, we just started. It's a 12 episode limited series. It's focused on the innovators and influencers in technology. So it's a little different than the other types of stuff that you see out there, a little different than the tech show I did pre-COVID. Instead of focusing on, look at this product and what it does, we're talking to the ones that are driving the change from the top level. Our first guest, for example, is Lee Pillsbury, who made his first fortune with hotels and management companies and stuff. And now he's part of Thayer Ventures, which invests in all sorts of great technology and hotel brands that are focused on technology, like Sonder, companies like Dishcraft, and that. Then our second guest is Raj Trivedi. You know him formerly as a hotel franchise person who eventually made his way up until the president of La Quinta, stayed with them after they were purchased by Wyndham. Now he's investing in companies such as Verdi and other companies as well. And then our third episode, which we just recorded, is with Rafat Ali. You guys know him as the publisher of Skift. So he sees a lot going on there, and we got a great interview with him. And then we'll be focusing on some other amazing people going forward.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
okay,
awesome.
So you are a keynote speaker, an event host, which is how I met you, a moderator. You are probably coming into more of a road warrior lifestyle now that things are getting back to normal.
Yep. We're recording this June 2nd, and I was home 3 days in May. What an amazing month I had, and the opportunities that I had to get to speak to some incredible groups was just so incredible and wonderful.
Now, you have done events, all over. Is there an event that you look forward to? Is there one that you're like, oh, I hope I get asked to speak at that one, or do you just not care anymore?
No, I care about every single one, but I've been trying so hard to break through to some of the major conferences. And that's really happening now. And that's really super exciting. This past month, I had the opportunity at IHG's annual conference to interview Keith Barr, their global CEO, and Elie Maalouf, their America's CEO, on stage in front of 5,000 people, for example. So that was pretty cool. I'm doing a great session with Radisson at their annual conference on August 1st. I helped co-write a book during COVID called The Adapters, my partner Sean Worker, and we're doing a big super session there, and they bought a whole bunch of copies of the book, and we get to talk about innovating and adapting in this fourth age of change, as we call it. And it's just awesome that I get to speak to these amazing large groups of people now, because Sharon, back in the day, sometimes there'd be more panelists than people in the room at some of the events that I was working. So it's the awe of walking into a room and seeing 5,000 seats there. And I know that I'm going to get to control that crowd. There's nothing cooler in the world.
That's cool. All right, let's talk about that. That actually leads into my next point.
Yeah.
What hypes you up? Like, do you listen to music? Do you do some push-ups? Like, what gets you ready to go out and face 5,000 people?
Yeah, that is a great question, and one nobody ever really asks. So everybody focuses on the being on stage part of it, but that is really the result of the preparation that you do way ahead of time. And I don't mean knowing your stuff. I know my stuff. I've been at it 30 years. I get, like we said, I talk to awesome people every day. So I get to steal all their information and pass it off as my own legitimate thoughts, right? So I got all the information down, but you've got to get into the right physical and emotional space in order to be successful on the stage, right? At some point in my evolution as a speaker, I had that epiphany that you've got to set yourself up for success. You've got to put everything in place so you have a much higher percentage or ease ability to be able to hit that flow zone where you kind of have that disembodied experience and you're not actually working anymore. You're kind of looking at yourself from above going, dang, you're doing a good job. I can't believe you just said that. So in order to get to that place, I make sure I have plenty of sleep. I make sure that for years, I wouldn't allow myself to have any alcohol for a day or two prior to a speaking gig. Now I've gotten more comfortable. I could have a drink or something with dinner. I don't make a big deal out of it, but I've got to go to bed early. No real partying.
Right.
No, I did a year when I started my business that I called the year of no fun. And that was just focus, focus, focus for that first year out of the gate, starting my own business. And a lot of that philosophy I've kept. At certain points, I have no business having fun if I've got to kick ass on stage with 5,000 people. I can have the fun the second I get off the stage. So not only do I try to get into that right headspace, but I allow myself to have a reward if I've done a good job afterwards, and be able to celebrate that way. So if anyone is looking to be a good public speaker, you've got to get really comfortable in your soul, find your authentic self, and then set yourself up for that success. We're all different. Maybe you all could drink more or sleep less, whatever it is, but you have to inherently know who you are and what makes you successful on stage, and then set those behaviors ahead of time.
That is such, amazing advice, because at the end of the day, right, it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you have to think of it and go, and I've never done public speaking to that level,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to go into it thinking, listen, I'm being paid to be here.
That's
It's
right.
my job to be ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
it's my job as a human being that wants to challenge themselves to want to come off that stage wowing myself. I don't really, honestly, it's so strange, Sharon. I spent so many years worrying about what other people think. Then I realized at some point, nobody cares about anything, right? That regards to me. We're all caught up with our own selves. It's nothing personal. It's just that nobody is looking at me with the scrutiny that I thought that they were having when I
Right.
was younger, right? So now I realize it's all up to myself. And the only person I need to really impress is me. And that is what I am focused on when I am on stage, making sure that I do better than the last time that I did, and that I'm in right fighting condition to maximize that opportunity.
Excellent. Okay. So I want to touch on one more thing. You actually mentioned it a second ago, but I want to come back to it. During the pandemic, you wrote a book.
Yes.
You had a little downtime. You decided, I'm going to write a book.
Well, when your entire business goes up in flames, you find yourself with a little more time on your hands. So there you go.
Okay. Where's the book published? Where can you get it?
You can get it at Amazon.com. It's written by Sean Worker, and I helped with the layup on that. So look up The Adapters, Amazon.com, wherever finer books are sold. You get it on the Apple digital stuff, all that kind of stuff as well.
Nice. All right. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, there's a million ways to do it, but what's your preferred method?
Just drop me an email, Glenn@NoVacancyNews.com. That's Glenn with 2 N's, people.
Get it right.
Glenn. Yeah. Listen, I've been fighting that losing battle for decades now, Sharon. Decade.
Listen, you're talking to somebody who has 2 R's in her name.
Yes. Listen, let's start a support group.
Let's do it. All right, Glenn, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.